say what you will about it.
Yes, it's one of the most enjoyable things about Star Trek the animated series is the fact that the episodes are just so short, so they're very easy to pick up and enjoy when you want. But yes, so today we are reviewing the Pirates of Orion, but I need to get something off my chest first of all, because how they say Orion bugs me.
Is that your big thing? Because that wasn't
Yes.
my...
It's not my big thing. It's not my big thing. It's not my big thing. But it does bug me.
It pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
That I can't even.
Yes.
Because we all know it's the Pirates of Orion.
Yes, it really bugged me all the way through, and I kept finding myself going, say it properly. Say it properly.
I felt like I was being gaslit because I actually went and looked it up, and I was like, have I been saying this word wrong my whole life? What's going on?
Yes, that was exactly what my issue was.
It's like one voice actor going Orion. It's like, no, we've had a meeting and we've decided that this is how it's going to be
to the point that I was like, I did actually do research myself because I was like, I don't like this. Why is it not like how I want it to be? Why are they saying it wrong? And I actually did go and have a look at several episodes.
It was a bit off.
Yeah, there were several things about this episode that I did find a bit off.
So I have a theory. Can I start with my theory about?
You can start with.
So this episode is written. It's the youngest person ever to write a Star Trek episode. So it's Howard Weinstein, age 19, when he submitted this script. And I think so. There are two things to this. One is a good thing. One is a bad thing. The good thing is, like Below Decks, you have a fan writing. So you have someone who really cares about the characters and really wants to capture their spirit. Because it's obviously something that he loves.
Yes.
The other thing is that who was doing good work at 19? Do you know what I mean? There's it's obviously written by someone who is very young and early in their career, and because of that, there are a few things where you're like, oh, that's weird. That's a bit, or a bit rushed, or that's an interesting way to tackle that plot problem.
Yes, but I also do wonder if that's why it was named Orion. I think that could possibly be why. And then obviously they got to Enterprise and they were like, yeah, no, this isn't going to fit, this is not going to fit. And
actually the Orions first appeared in Journey to Babel, which I don't remember. I don't know if Becca, if you went back and watched recently,
because I've literally watched this at an hour and a half ago.
Okay, so the two of us are on the same scale.
But I normally only watch.
I feel like teacher's pet. I did this last weekend.
Yeah, you did. You were really organised. You were. Right thing. But I had no time.
I just
had no time.
I just wanted to make a good impression.
You
guys.
did.
I didn't know you were going to be phoning it in.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're doing great.
Yeah. You're professionals, though. You do this every week. So
thanks.
Yes, exactly. So yes, this is a the plot though is fairly thin, but I like the way it developed. I like where they went with it.
Okay.
Yes, Orion. Oh, it gets on my last nerve. But we're there. We're here. We're headed to Deneb 5, and there's a disease on the ship that is quote unquote less severe than pneumonia. I'm sorry. Less severe than pneumonia. There's a range there.
Yeah.
But McCoy has the cure. All is well. So we think. Except we find out later he doesn't.
Yes, which ever so slightly bugs me because I feel like they've let me down in my boy McCoy and the fact that he is this doctor. I get very frustrated by this episode. I'm not gonna lie.
My Bond big thing is to do with McCoy.
I think it might be the same one.
Well, okay. The problem is that this is where a plot point shows up that then gets echoed in Next Generation.
Okay.
And it's almost our second or third plot point after we've talked about, going to Deneb 5, after we're talking about, how we're getting there and so on, and Spock collapses.
Yes, which now brings up my annoyance with this episode. Because
Not enough Spock.
yes, because we know I love a good Spock episode. But
yes,
is McCoy meant to be there in this episode? Because he appears there, but then Kirk calls sickbay.
He absolutely is meant to be there, because if it had been Mabunga, it would have been.
No, I mean, like, was he there before this scene? Because this scene is used several times throughout this episode. This specific scene with Kirk being there and McCoy being there. But then McCoy is on the intercom later on in this episode, but he's not meant to be on the bridge.
Right, he's in sickbay.
Yes, but he's there. Like, they use this specific scene.
Of course they do, because that's... Actually, wait, no, the one that you're... No, I don't think that is meant to be McCoy on the bridge there.
But he is definitely... He is definitely there. They use that scene. Because I can remember going... I was telling Phoebe that I did this. I actually literally rewound to be like, did they just call him on the intercom? But he's there.
Standing around. It's that really awkward moment where you're on the phone going, so where are you? And then the person, you can hear the person replying behind you. I think that's what's happening. It's just a human moment.
It was just very confusing. It was definitely one of those moments, and I was like,
yes.
But
I hadn't even clocked that. Because I was so excited to have a little bit of Vulcan lore. I was like, oh yeah, we could do some Vulcan biology. I'm up for that.
See, and here I was sitting here going, oh God, they're about to do it. No, they're not going to. They haven't. Oh no, they're going to do it.
But yes, so we have... Sorry, but we...
No battle.
Yes, but we have a very poorly Spock, who is practically out for now this whole episode.
Yeah.
Which I was like, how am I meant to have a Chapel as Spock ship on this episode if I have him out for it and her... How is that meant to happen? How am I meant to have these ship moments?
Imagination, and you just fill in the gaps of like the hurt comfort. In off camera, she's bringing him cups of tea and offering.
I love how you feed my ship for this.
Dab his forehead with the flannel. She's Chapel. She'd do that.
Completely. But yes, so we have this. We have the fact that Spock is out for the count. He's got something that's fatal to Vulcans, and the only cure for it is on another planet 4 days away. But he only has.
It's not just another planet. It is actually a planet that is relevant to Solar Force. Or could be.
Okay.
Oddly enough. It's Beta Canopus, or Beta Carinae, or the keel of Argo Navis.
Okay.
This is the keel of the Argo. From the Q Ranger. So it may show up in Solar Force, it may not, depending on how plans go.
Okay. But
yes. We have to upgrade the Argo.
So it is 4 days away, but Spock only has 2 days to live. So they have to come up with a very cunning plan to figure out what is going on and how they can get what they need to the ship.
And then they've sent him back to work, which, so it's the medical
protocol. Come on, are you going to keep Spock down?
They sent him back to work, having just collapsed.
But he was on restricted. He was on restricted duties, and they halved his duties.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this.
Duties.
They have his duties, and also, I'm sorry. Are you going to stop Spock from working?
But any other character, he would have been on restricted duties.
I think it's an ethical duty for the doctor to be like, you have 48 hours to live if we can't get this medicine. Take the day off. Like, I think that would be, and this is
I 100% agree with you here. But it's very 70s in the fact that the man has to be tough. This is very much what it's about. It's like
it's also Spock is not going to be on the Enterprise and not working.
Well, so Cam says it's very on brand with Spock. Yeah, Cam, we can understand that, but we are fighting for his right to live in peace for his last 48 hours.
I just want to have a conversation with the Enterprise HR department. That's all.
Believe me, at some point I'm going to have to show you Starfleet HR. It is a RPG sort of freeform thing, and you'll love it.
I can imagine all the TikToks we could make with that, Phoebe.
Yeah. Just being Starfleet HR.
Let's do it. We're doing it.
Yes,
I'm up for that.
Okay, I will get you the links. But no, but I actually like the fact that for once the Enterprise can't solve every problem alone.
Yeah,
I like the Potemkin being mentioned for a second time. The Potemkin was also mentioned in TOS. And, okay, the Huron is a little bit over-designed, but I like the Huron, and I actually like the fact that the designation they gave it, that it's NCC F-1915, that this is specifically a freighter.
Yeah.
In Starfleet service.
And I
like
did.
That fact.
Do we actually know what class of ship it is? Because I didn't catch that. No, but I do like the imagery for the ship. It felt like a ship that we hadn't seen before, it was nice. Yes. And we all know that I quite admire the ships from the animated series because they do give me something different than the usual Star Trek type of ships. But I did like the fact that it was designated freight because I actually really like this captain. For the fact that we only see him for a couple of scenes, I really did enjoy his character and really enjoyed the fact that he was just like, I can't wait to get rid of this stuff. Can we just get back to delivering cargo? I was like, that is a whole mood, and I am here for it.
Yes, and actually, I found it funny. Does Chapel have a twin sister?
Yes, who sounds exactly like her. But I also was like, does Scotty have a twin on that ship as well? Because
I didn't think that was Scotty. I thought that was Sulu.
As far as I was aware from the things, it was Scotty. I'll be happy to be wrong, but I assumed it was him because I instantly went, this is one of those things again.
Yeah, well, yes, he voices everything.
Yes.
He even voices the Orions, and, it's him and Takai voicing the Orions.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. It's I sat there and I'm like, wait, does Chapel have a twin sister? What's going on here?
Yeah, it did feel very much like that.
One of the images here is called "Did Chapel Have a Twin Sister?" And also, I'm sorry, that helmsman navigator guy. Does that look like Kelvin versus Kirk to you, or is it just me?
I didn't notice that. No,
I didn't clock that.
Okay, well, I am looking at it right now, and it looks like Kelvin versus Kirk to me.
I'm there for it because I think there should be more Kelvin versus stuff in the world, because I think we were surely let down by that, and obviously the death of the Chekhov's actor.
Anton Yelchin, yep. May he rest in peace.
Yes.
Anton Yelchin was a great guy. Yeah.
But yes, getting back to this, I very much like the crew of this other ship, and the fact that they are trying to get this medicine to Spock as soon as possible. And
I love the sensor display. The fact that they finally use it again.
Yes.
This is one of those details that keeps coming up, and every time it comes up, I'm like, yes, please use it more.
Yes. Yes.
It's a piece of tech that we need to see more of, in no uncertain terms.
Yes.
And then, of course, we get to this predatory bat-like thing, which
I read
love
it,
the
it
design.
looks like a red dragon from D&D because it just looks very
Yes.
organic design. It's like a flying
Yes.
creature,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it almost looks like they took one of the purple screamers, made it red, chopped off the head, and that's the ship.
I
Yeah.
didn't
might be the
didn't
ship.
have that thought at all.
Yeah. But I still love it. And I love that, the evasive maneuvers are actually shown on screen.
Yes.
Hell yes, space battles.
I
Right.
love
It's not something you get in lots of episodes, and I think it feels like the budget went into like the animation budget for this episode. I think went into
Mhm.
those very very few space battle scenes because the
Yes.
rest of it is just people standing around chatting,
It is.
That
It
which
is.
I'm
fun.
okay with.
Yes. But I do very much like the style of space battles because it's not something that we see in the normal Star Trek whatsoever. It's a very
Yeah.
different style.
Yep.
I don't even think we've seen it in Lower Decks, but I might have not watched it for a
Probably.
while, so I don't like that type of
Yep.
style. Because you've seen it
Yeah.
recently, haven't you, Phoebe? So you would.
Yeah. I can't think of a like an immediate equivalent, so I think
No.
you're probably right.
Yeah.
But and then we, of course, cut back to the Enterprise while the piracy attack is happening. With a medical computer that is so weird. I don't
Medical
do
stuff in this Endy is weird.
Yeah, it
is
doesn't
weird all
vibe. It
round.
really doesn't vibe.
The computers are weird. No one's following medical protocol.
Very much.
Yeah,
I think we
exactly.
should do a whole episode just on the fact that there is a lot of fucking around in this episode, to excuse my language. There is
Is this
so
the-
much.
No,
Is this also
there's
the bit
so
that
is.
McCoy then lies to Spock and tells him
Yes.
no, you're fine? Because I was like,
Yes.
this is my biggest bugbear with this episode. Grossly unethical. Like just lying to a patient, sending them back to duty, knowing that the medicine you've just given them has had no effect.
Yeah, it was like a
Well,
placebo,
the
to
problem
say
is-
the least.
Well, I would say yes, except for the fact that these guys know each other for that long.
Irrespective.
Or does that make it worse?
It makes it worse. I think it makes it worse because it's you as a
I
doctor,
was
you have
about
a
to say-
duty to give accurate information to your patients lest you do harm.
Yeah, it didn't vibe with me
Yes.
It
whatsoever.
didn't vibe. They've
Yeah.
really done Bones dirty in this episode.
Yeah, and this is why I
Yeah.
get so annoyed over it, because I really don't like the fact that how they've done this to him. I really don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yes, and then Spock, of course, comes back to the bridge. Before he even gets to the bridge, I admit, momentary shot only, but I'm glad that we start getting some close-ups of Arex here
Very much.
as navigator. And they rendezvous with the Huron, and my God, that image, again, the Huron looks a little over designed in the Enterprise's nacelle. Okay. As we're finding out, oh shit, minimum life support, major damage, metallic debris. Hint, hint. This is exactly how Orions will work. Every other time they are mentioned in any other piece of Star Trek media, this is how they are mentioned. But then, of course, Spock collapses.
Yes, which then brings up, he collapses again on the bridge, doesn't he?
Mm.
Which then
Yes.
is the part that I was complaining about earlier, because Kirk is on the intercom to McCoy, but then McCoy is stood next to him.
No, he's not. No, he's not. That's in sick bay.
No, on the one that we've got on Netflix, he is literally, they show the frame where McCoy is stood next to Kirk, the same image as from earlier.
Okay, I didn't catch that. What I got was there's another science officer behind him.
No, it's the same imagery. It's exactly the same imagery because I literally spent 5 minutes going back and forth to look at it, and I was like, hang on a minute, have they just used the same frame? Because it's literally the shit.
Very likely, because I didn't catch it.
It's exactly the same. Cam's put on the comments that it was also what would be expected in the time frame. Doc just telling people they'd be okay, even if they wouldn't, was a thing in 70s dramas. That's interesting to know.
Right. He's absolutely right on that, unfortunately.
It's also he also throws out just a casual bit of speciesism as well, which is where he's like, "Why can't you have red blood like a normal human?"
I took that as the fact that they've known each other for so long. I did.
It feels like friend banter.
That feels very much like McCoy because he spends half his time smarking against Spock. So I thought that was in thing. But looking at it from 2024, I was very frustrated with McCoy in this episode.
Oh yeah, no, but they were, they Spock is definitely not giving back as much as he should in this episode to McCoy. But oh well. And as I said, Spock collapses. And did you notice who takes over science?
Oh, I didn't clock who took over science.
Lieutenant Arix.
Oh, okay, I didn't notice that. It's definitely not in my notes.
Yeah. See, I noticed it enough that I actually, in my hurried image making, grabbed that one.
Chain of command.
And I haven't. Yes. But you've even got Arix's third arm showing up in the shot.
Okay.
He's got the third arm that comes off here. Yeah. So his third shoulder is in the shot.
I didn't notice that, no.
Yep. And it's actually the closest we get to seeing his eyes, because he's got like reptilian looking eyes, man.
Yeah.
Arix is such a weird dude.
I'm very disappointed that we've not found out more about his species in canon. Even in like Lower Decks or Strange New Worlds or anything like that, we've not found out anymore, and that frustrates me because they could do so much more with it nowadays with technology and what we've got, like CGI and stuff that we've got now, and it's.
But and this is what I was saying earlier. So what I was saying to Becca earlier, Endy, was that what I love the animated series for is they just throw out random species and they never give you any explanation of who this is. You just have some really weird alien because they have the animation freedom to do that in a way that they didn't have it in the original series. They didn't have the technology to support it. And even in like the newer series, the CGI is a big part of the budget, so it's like, how much do you want to spend on just throwing out random aliens? And you get that
very
from
much
both below Decks and from the animated series, and I kind of love that because it gives you like if you're writing fanfic or like running simulations in this kind of period in this world, it gives you so much fodder to just be really creative. You're not bound by a lot of lore.
This is what the conversation was, because I was telling you about what I use Lower Decks and I use the animated series for on SS Mary Rose, and I'm kind of I don't know about you guys because obviously I'm not entirely sure what you guys watch on TV. But I've just started watching Star Trek Prodigy on Netflix. Oh my god.
It's on my list. I haven't started yet.
If you guys do
not
watch...
I'm going to only because it has Janeway.
I am 100% because Voyager and The Next Generation were my jam when I was a child. I am absolutely loving it. I am so thankful that Netflix have taken over and have given it a second series. I just really hope that we get a third. Because it is just so good.
What's happening here in the US. I don't know what's happening here in the US, but let's be honest. We all know I'm just going to torrent it in.
Yes, you do sell the high seas on that, don't you? But yes, going back to this.
So.
But going back to the episode, do you want to carry on?
Sure. Now, the away team here. I actually think this away team for once makes sense.
Very much.
Yes,
so.
Captain Kirk. Even Captain Kirk going over to the other ship. it makes
sense. I have got no issue with this away party. For once out of the last 16 episodes, I've got no issue with it.
Right? Finally.
It's only taken this many episodes. But they also have my favourite thing when they go over to this.
Is it the life belt?
It's the life belt.
Being competent? Oh, yeah.
It's the life belts.
The life belts have...
The life belt.
Yep, the life belts,
you mean
and then...
the Orion belts? Because of the star constellation. Sorry. I was like Orion's belt is the...
I got you. You're good. You're fine.
I've been waiting to drop that joke.
Love it.
Nice.
It was really bad.
But yeah, no.
No, it's good. I'm here for it.
It worked. I liked it. But yeah. I actually like that they have everybody over there doing a job and actually shown being competent again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chapel doing field medicine. Scotty goes down into the hole, and not only is there no medicine, there's also no dilithium.
No, there is. They have taken everything.
And they show this huge cargo hold with him up there on the catwalk. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then of course, Uhura. Okay, so she doesn't get what she wants out of the computer, but A, she's doing it, and B, comments on one of the benefits of tape-based media.
Yes, I did notice that, and I was like, "This is so 70s, so 70s." But I was like, "It fits, it's absolutely fine." But it did feel very, very dated.
All of that kind of big cartridge cassette vibes, and it's like when you watch. Sorry, I'm going to go on a slight tangent here. So, but if you ever watch Silent Running, where they've got like the ship's computers are massive and they've got these huge tape-based, and it felt like I had that same kind of very retro futurism. This is what we imagine the technology will be.
But I find when I watch things like Battlestar Galactica, like the original series, it's very much in line with that, and even like Space.
Everything's so chunky.
Even like Space 1999, that still feels very much. It's very much that vibe, and I am here for that vibe where they think this is what the future's going to be like. I love it.
Yes, Space 1999, UFO, that whole door.
Yes. So yes, that was a very connected rambut, but I do like it.
Yeah. No, I love that. I actually think, and it's like with the different displays that they have, I think they do a great job with the technology in this episode. I think you get to like have a lot of fun with it.
Yes, I feel very much like the animated series gives us so much more than our other series give because of the obviously the style of it, but it gives us so much more technology. Like we have the belts. We've got, what are the other things that I love? The belts. The belts. Just the belts. It just gives me the belts.
All the different blasters and ray guns. The alien
ships.
weaponry.
The ships.
Always so fun.
I think I've got a couple of episodes planned for like when we finish this, because I want to give my top 10 things of like across the series. So I've got like top 10 aliens, top 10 weaponry. I've got plans to do that. So yeah, Cam said, yep, in the 70s we imagined flying cars but not phones that had more computer power than the main frames that supported the Apollo missions. My God, we really do. Like my phone has more processing power than that, and it's absolutely bonkers that we've become that. It's mind-blowing. And Cam, I'm absolutely loving the fact that you are giving us stuff from that were normal in, you know, when you were growing up. I really appreciate that you're kind of giving us that insight, so thank you for that.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Kim. And at some point you should come on one of these episodes.
It could be an audio only episode, I promise.
We could do it. Yep, we can make that happen. But yes, so we get the tapes back to the ship, and probably as they're being decoded, Arex points out that, oh, hey, we're doing Balance of Terror again. Which I know, Becca, that's one of the ones that you watched, and I know that's one of the ones you didn't like as much.
But I think if I watched it back now, having watched the animated series, I think I'd probably have a different viewpoint. But that would
I
be
know
that's
you
gonna
would.
be sort of a winter project that we're gonna be doing reviews of the original series,
Yep.
which would be interesting.
Oh, TOS.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and I think I love TOS and I love it for the characters, and I think this episode is like the strongest part of it is the characters, but also I think in this
course,
whole
yes.
sequence when they're going across to the ship and as they're starting to run out of time, the music in this episode, it does such a fantastic job of like holding the tension.
Yeah.
Because actually in with the kind of limited animation of at the time this was made, like you see a lot of static shots or like a lot of panning across a landscape, and having that score behind it really adds kind of it makes it dynamic.
Yeah.
Dynamism.
Yeah.
Dynamism.
No,
Yep.
it's great.
Absolutely agreed. The audio definitely is what carries this.
Yeah.
Honestly, this could be a radio play, and it would still be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think this. Yeah.
But as I said, we doing Balance of Terror again, at least a riff on it, which is probably part of why it's part of how you can tell that this was a fan that wrote it, and that it was, as you said, a 19-year-old kid. That he redoes this plot point. And actually, we're going to get some more continuity that shows that it's a fan who did it in a few minutes. But as we're following them, McCoy has a moment of self-doubt. Which I'm going to say what you will about this episode, say what you will about McCoy at times in this episode. This moment, I like it. It felt natural.
Yeah. This was the point out of McCoy I actually felt was the most McCoy moment of this episode. I actually felt it was him. And it wasn't he wasn't being someone who he's not. I felt this is the most McCoy moment that for what I've seen of him in the original series and previous animated episodes. This felt the most, the best of him, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think also like very natural. You're treating like one of your best friends is relying on you to save their life. Like who wouldn't have a moment of doubt in that? And I like that they've that Weinstein built that into this.
Yes, and you get the medical drama along with the sci-fi and so it's very well blended, and I like that they built it in. And also the reference that Bose has now been practicing medicine for 25 years.
Yeah, I did notice that, and I was trying to do maths to see if they were trying to fool me or anything, but I still didn't get it worked out.
I didn't try to pretend because, well, actually, with a 6,000, with this being 6335 and 6336, that would mean it's 2268, I think. So he would have had to have been practicing in 2243, and since, the math doesn't quite work unless McCoy is much older than everybody else.
Well, yeah, that was
entirely possible.
I always read McCoy as being at least a little bit older than the rest of the crew, and in certainly in the reboots you get that whole thing of him like his life's fallen apart, so this is like a second time round. I think in the original series there isn't anything to support that,
no,
other than the fact that he's just a very experienced doctor and a bit of a grumpy old man.
Which
I like.
Yeah, that is a whole vibe of him. That's kind of like a very 70s style doctor, to be fair.
Yeah.
Spock and McCoy being the grumpy old men of the ship does work when they But we get into the asteroid belt, and my God, finally, this is a trope that I've been waiting to find the origin of for years when I first saw this, because the explosive asteroid belt shows up in so much other media after this. Okay? It does get referenced in Trek. It gets referenced in Star Wars, in Empire. It gets referenced in Battlestar Galactica in a couple of the fights. I think it's even in one episode of Babylon 5, for crying out loud. And of course, video games.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a Starship video game and you have a asteroid belt, this is it. And of course, the one that is most directly and most linearly connected, Galaxy Quest. This is the minefield from Galaxy Quest. And see?
Yeah,
Now imagine if the Enterprise had decided to catch some asteroids.
yeah.
But this is where that comes from. So again, it's one of those things where the animated series was so influential for a couple of episodes, and I love that. We also get to see Yellow Alert go off for once.
Yeah.
How often do we see Yellow Alert?
Not often.
Right?
A lot of the time, people are just rushing
Right.
straight to red. Why don't
But
we just...
I have a
Think about it
real
and
I have a
somehow
real
we need
problem
red.
with the fact that they go straight to red alert straight away. As someone who has worked on
Yes.
cruise ships, okay, you do not go straight to red alert unless the shit is hitting the fan. You go to at least code Bravo, which would be their yellow alert, before
Yellow
you go
alert,
straight
yeah.
before you go to red alert. Like on a passenger ship, you would not want your passengers to panic. So you would make sure that you have got people in place for emergency procedures before everyone else needs to evacuate. Any of this, you would have that in place first. And it really bugs me when they do this. Like, really.
Yeah,
Especially, well,
a similar thing. I've worked in theatres
TNG is
where...
not more. Yes.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say I've worked in theatres where if there's a fire, you never say there's a fire.
No.
You always have like a code name.
No.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yes.
we're about to call a fire alarm. Charlie's arrived.
Yeah.
In the theaters I worked in, it was always Frank.
Yeah.
But yes.
But you would
Yeah.
have something
hey,
else in place to prepare.
Yes. But then again, it's less of a concern on this Enterprise compared to the Enterprise D.
Mm-hmm.
Which, oh my god, the number of times that Riker must have caused havoc.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. If I was anybody on the Enterprise D, why the hell didn't Keiko slap Riker a couple times?
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Like, she's there in her classroom and they go straight to red alert. The chaos that must have happened with those kids. That is totally a HR thing. That would have to go to.
I think it's actually going to completely skew these kids' idea of what a crisis is. Like, they'll just be like, "Oh, it's a red alert."
Yeah, it's fine.
We'll just carry on because it would just be so often.
Yeah, like it makes no sense that they.
Can you imagine?
And the fact that
Keiko and Alexander in the classroom when everything.
Yeah, it bugs me that they don't go straight to yellow alert. They go straight to red alert. Yes. And Cam said, but a military ship would not behave like a civilian ship. Everyone on starships knows where to go and what to do on a battle station type alert. But even on battleships, they would still have like a process. Like
yes.
Yeah, it would still be processes.
Occasionally Kirk absolutely. And occasionally Kirk does call battle stations without calling an alert condition, which is fair. Yeah. That's like, he could be calling that as a fucking drill. You know, he doesn't, but he could.
Yeah. I feel very much like, I feel very much like the alert system isn't quite fixed, maybe. It could be that there's some movement in the canon around these type of things, to be fair.
I think it's it's purely, I think there's a dramatic use for the red alert. It's like a signal to your audience, isn't it? It's at this point in the Star Trek writing, it's a narrative device.
Yes, and if
absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely it is. But yeah, we get the yellow alert. We go into the asteroid field, and this is another moment that I like because diegesis actually happens. Kirk calls for hard to port. And did you notice that it actually panned left?
Yes.
They actually went to port. They got it right.
Yes.
This is also another bit where the music for me is like very, very beautiful. because and actually I think whoever, and I didn't have a chance to look up who wrote it, and I was hoping Endy you might, because this is the kind of fact that you always have on the top of your head. But they managed to build the tension, and just every time
Unfortunately, this is one where I did, because I didn't get the prep, but
yeah, we'll look it up later. I'll find it later. But what they do is they kind of have this like really these dissonant runs of chords, and every time you think it's going to resolve, suddenly the music shifts again, and they manage to sustain this like building of tension across a really like, it's quite like compositionally impressive. I think I just really appreciated it in the space battle, and it really added like this sense of, oh shit, like everything's on a knife's edge. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Yeah, you're allowed to swear. It's fine.
Okay, good. You know, but you feel like
don't worry, cut your mouth off.
Okay, that's I should have checked that before.
No, you're good. Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, you just feel like you're on a knife's edge with the crew going through this asteroid belt as the music builds. It's so brilliantly done. For like this whole sequence for me was like an absolute highlight of the episode.
Yes. And when we get through that wonderful sequence of going through the asteroid belt, we get the Orions showing up. And no, I am not going with the pronunciation in the episode ever again. I will punch anyone who does so. Okay. I will be very, very frustrated with anyone who uses the pronunciation from this episode. Now, the fact that Kirk straight out references Journey to Babel. Okay. We've had Amanda get her last name in this episode. Not in this in this series, in yesteryear. We've had Sarek show up. Finally, we get one more reference to the two of them indirectly through Babel. And if anyone ever wants to say that Picard is the negotiator and Kirk is the one who just punches people, just show them this clip. Just show them that clip.
I think this is possibly the one and only time, but I think a lot of people say that because they don't agree with the animated series being canon, and until recently it's been left out in the cold. So I do actually agree with how people view it because of that reason.
Yeah, this is something that actually watching this podcast has changed my mind about, because I would have always said Picard's. But then I was reflecting on it the other day and I thought, I think it's an actor problem. I think Patrick Stewart just has heaps more gravitas.
Yes,
and William Shatner. So people are willing to give him like these like,
because Shatner hasn't always been but Shatner hasn't always been the best towards the fans, and that is the huge problem with that actor. And Picard's actor has always been very positive towards us. And I think that's also probably why. Yeah, but Shatner hasn't got that ability any shape or form.
But I also think the way that he plays Kirk, he feels younger and more brash. But his actual, but I think Endy's right. If you wrote his decision making down on paper, it's a lot more diplomatic than you would perhaps initially give it credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this, because it's so, also the other thing about this next bit is it's so clearly a trap. It's so clearly a trap. So to go into that, and you have to have a plan, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And they actually, another like small thing. I like the fact they put Kirk on the Orion view screen for one. So it's not just one-sided from the Enterprise. I like that as they're negotiating, as they're discussing, they go through it. And yes, this is so obviously trapped. This idea of, oh, we'll bring the drug down. You don't have to give us anything. Just promise our neutrality is good. And we'll give you the drugs. And it's like, no. No. And the suicide plan is obvious. In fact, later on, they actually do say suicide on screen. which I thought it was amazing, that it's Orion's either succeed or end up in suicide. And it's like, wait, this is the 70s. Are you allowed to say that?
They would have been able to say it then, but it's not really allowed on television nowadays.
Yeah. Yes. It wouldn't have been it during the 80s, and it wouldn't have been now.
No, because obviously they use other words for it. But yeah, so I find it quite interesting that obviously this is the first time that we've seen male Orions on the television, because obviously previously it's been the slave girls, and obviously we don't see male Orions again until Enterprise.
Actually, incorrect. The first Orion we ever saw, well, not first Orion, the second Orion we ever saw in Journey to Babel was male.
Oh, okay.
But he was pretending to be an Andorian at the time.
Well, that'll be why.
Yeah, but that's also, I love the fact, as you mentioned, that we see them, and they do kind of look like very light-skinned Andorians, don't they? Except without the antennae.
Yeah.
But you can definitely tell that, Filmation and Marvel and so on were all sort of competing at this time with the costumes on these guys. I'm sorry. What's up with the face masks?
I don't know. I have a lot of issues with how the Orions look in this episode, because they don't feel like how we see them later on. I know this is the first, technically the first way that we see them, but it feels really strange, and it kind of makes me understand why a lot of people don't count this as canon, because it did confuse me, and I was like, even the vibe of them, it didn't feel like Orions, but I do wonder if that's because we are so used to the slave girls.
Yes,
I think also they feel more uniformed than you would expect pirates to be as well.
Yeah.
And it makes me go. It kind of makes if you take this as like, this is what the Orions think a tough pirate looks like. It's like, wow, what is their what are their worst nightmares?
That's what I mean. I also think, because I've seen Lower Decks, where we have had some absolute amazing lore around the Orions and imagery from Tendi, who is my favourite person in the whole universe, because she actually reminds me of you, Phoebe. I'm not gonna lie. She does.
I'll take that. I love that.
And your character Mercy, it kind of reminds me the whole vibe of her, the bubble and all of that. But the lore that we've seen on Lower Decks has ever so slightly tainted me on the male Orions in this episode, because I was like, they just don't act like these big muscly men that I imagine that they're going to be. Not at all.
I see it. Yeah. No, but but at least they are genuinely piratical.
Yeah.
Aside from the suicide bomb.
Yeah, that kind of whole vibe of,
takes it more into zealotry, doesn't it, rather than
culty,
rather than outlaws who are out here to survive under any circumstances.
Yeah.
Well,
unless we fail.
Here's the problem. They're not outlaws.
No.
That's
true.
One of the things that happens. That's one of the things that we see later, and that comes up in lore, is that, okay, are they entirely supported the planet Orion, which is a member of the Federation? It is not neutral. It is a Federation member. In fact, it was a founding member of the Federation. They are not neutral. They are not, all out on their own. And the pirates are not out on their own either, because literally the Orion Syndicate, the Orion government, they're the same thing.
Yeah.
So these guys are organized pirates, if such a thing exists. As a pirate myself right now, and having been this disorganized, I do not believe there is such a thing as an organized pirate. But that might be today.
Much chaos.
It's always tomorrow. But yes, carrying on with this, I really like this scene. Not just because of the fact that we have the life belts in this episode and this scene specifically. I just like the fact that Kirk
come back. Yeah.
Kirk feels very much like how parts that I've enjoyed previously in this series of Kirk feels very much like when they're eventually having this little fight back and forth. I kind of feel like, okay, this is the Kirk that I actually like. This is the Kirk that I necessarily dislike, and the Kirk that I feel is just OTT and that. I really like the back and forth between the pirate and Kirk, and the fact that Kirk's like, tell your men to stand down, don't let them unalive themselves. All of this, I feel like that's the genuine Kirk that we don't always get to see.
Yeah. And clever. He's supposed to be a clever, like a very clever.
He's the youngest captain in Starfleet. He's
got to be.
There's a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. And finally, we see it. Though I'll be honest, when I first was watching this a few minutes ago, I had forgotten that the suicide plot. I thought they were just going to kidnap Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because that would have felt more organic to me.
Yeah, and actually, this is one of the moments where I was like, it feels like a younger writer.
Yeah.
Some of the way that this resolves.
The over dramatic solution of, oh my god, if we don't win, we have to kill ourselves.
Who hasn't felt like that at 19? I have.
We have all been there. We have all been writers at 19. I know for a fact I was like that.
Howard, I see you. I feel you.
Yes. It's like, dude, can we give you a hug?
But we've all
50 years on, do you need a hug?
Career as a Star Trek writer.
Yes, we've all been there, but I do feel like I was very satisfied with how this episode ended. It did feel like it ended on a much more positive note with them being arrested and they're going to stand trial.
Yeah.
I did like that, and I like the fact that it ended without any more people.
It didn't have to be a big shootout or
we didn't lose anyone else in this episode, which I really liked.
Right.
And then when they make
we
it
lost
back...
2 people aboard the Huron.
Yeah.
And
then when they make it back to the ship as well, you have that lovely moment between Kirk, Spock, and Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. What I've named in my notes, three ship daddies get together and banter.
I love it. I love it. I am there for that.
And this for me felt like the most like perfect, capturing of their relationship.
It is.
I really liked that it ended this way.
Yes. I just called it, oh good, we're back to the usual kibitzing.
No, I think I prefer Phoebe's
Three ship daddies.
I am there for free ship daddies. I'm there for it. But the fact is, it cracks me up because in a lot of Star Trek communities, we call Pike. What do we call him? Cam, help me out. What do we call Pike?
Immediately go down to the...
No, she's not going to answer me because she's a few minutes behind. Yeah. But we have like a society and he's known as something daddy and I just can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But moving on, because she'll come back to me and I'll let you guys know. But yes, I feel very much like it ended on a good note. So now we get to the scores and Phoebe isn't aware. Yeah, short ship daddy. That works. Thanks, Cam. So yes, we now get to the scores, but Phoebe doesn't realise something. I don't actually score these episodes when there's more than 2 of us. You have got the score. That is why when you asked me,
you refused to answer me. I said, how have you scored it?
Yes, because one, I thought you knew, but now I realise that you don't know.
No, I completely forgotten that, but I do remember it now that you said it.
But we do have, if I move my mouse, we lose the screen. So I can't put the images up on the screen. So we're just gonna have to use our imaginations. We're all writers, we can do that. So yes, so Phoebe, what is your score and rationale for your score for this episode?
Yeah, no, happy to. So I went for quite a harsh, I was torn between 2 and 3. And I feel like So in the end, I landed on 2 because I'm a bit of a bitch. And but actually having talked it through, I think I'd probably actually give it a 3 now. Definitely the music for me is like at least half that score. I thought the music was a highlight. And I also love the feeling of love that's gone into it, but I do think you can tell it's a very young writer at the start of their career. I feel like this isn't his best work. We've got to give him space to develop in that scoring system. And also, I do think McCoy would be struck off for some of his behaviour early on in the episode. I think it's been completely unethical, and I think because of that, I have to be like a bit like, well, it's not like the episode gets better as you go. So the first half for me let it down. So that's why I've given
that
it
would
2 or
be
3.
that's a very honest score. I like the
Yeah.
honesty of your score. What about you, Endy? What is your score for this episode?
My score. Okay, I was debating between 3 and 4, and went to 4.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to 5 because there are some technical difficulties, some issues.
Yes.
But here's the problem. I played Starfleet Battles. I played Starfleet Command. I mean, one of my favorite games was literally Starfleet Command 2, Orion Pirates. Okay? Without this episode, that wouldn't happen. Yes, it's just a rehashing of Balance of Terror in a lot of it. It really is. But I love it because of that. The pronunciation of Orion makes me want to
Yeah, that would have been, if I was scoring it, I would have probably gone 3. That's the most evenest number that I could have given.
Yeah, but the thing is, I also like the fact that this episode references 2 other episodes of TOS.
Yeah.
The fact that they literally call out Babel, and I have a soft spot for any time I think of Galaxy Quest. So that asteroid belt sequence, I'm like, yes, Galaxy Quest, yes. So yeah. Then again, I swear the Thermians must have been based on a TAS alien. I swear they must have. But yeah, no, there were so many things that this episode brought to the table that would then get used in, as I said, Starfleet Battle, Starfleet Command, Prime Directive, the Phasa Trek RPG. And the amount of story building that would happen in novels. This is a tentpole episode, so part of the way I score is not just is it a great episode, but also should you watch it.
How much do we owe the episode?
Yeah, and I think in this case, because of the amount that we do owe it, this is an episode that if you are writing Trek, if you are doing TOS in any capacity, you need to watch it. Because that's where it is. It's a very different sort of 4 out of 5 as compared to the previous episode, which shall not be named. Where that one was not a Trek episode.
Yeah.
That was a D&D episode.
Yeah.
But with Trek characters.
Well, I think we need to call it the second D&D episode because the Megas 2 episode is the first D&D episode. So this could be
absolutely.
This could be the second campaign episode.
Pretty much.
So, is there anything else that you would like to add about this episode? Anything you've missed in your notes? Anything you'd like to add?
Let me see. What do I have here that I didn't get? Oh yes. Well, no, I think I got most of my stuff. Again, as you said, that the dialogue carries, the music carries. It is a very strong episode in that regard. Ben, if you watch, remember Beta Canopus.
But also don't cross streams.
Don't cross the streams.
Oh,
For
please,
me,
it's
it's
only
just
a total for controversial.
for me, it's just like how this episode is a bit of a triumph for fans because it's written by someone who loved the original series enough that they wrote a short story, and then they got the chance to turn that short story into a TV show.
You
And
don't get that
actually,
often nowadays.
and actually,
No.
that feels like a very special, like a gift from a fan to a fan.
Yeah.
So I think for that as well, for
Mhm.
me, it was like I scored the episode before I then went and researched about the episode. And when I had read through the story of how it got made, I was like, this feels like it deserves a special place in the fan base
Yeah.
just for that, because it's it's every fanfic writer who like their secret dream to actually be able to write an episode
Oh my
of
god,
the
yes.
thing that they love.
Yes.
Well, remember that in early TNG there was an open request for scripts. So in early TNG there was that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have moved past it. But yeah, we are now soundly into season 2.
We are. But I would like to add that if anyone has any episode requests, put them in the comments. If you've enjoyed this episode, put it in the comments. If you have any thoughts on what you'd like to see in the future, put them in the comments. The comments, we answer every single comment. I spend my Monday normally answering comments, so please use that facility. You know, you can hide behind your screen names. There will be a survey coming out in the next week or so around Fleetcast, around bits and bobs around the fleet for Obsidian Day. Obsidian Day is the 27th and 28th because it's over 2 days. We have 6 hours of streaming for you guys over those 2 days. So let us know what you'd like to see. Because it's not just about us, it's about the community as a whole. This is the whole reason why we do this, to get this community out there. Phoebe, how have you found this? It's not quite as scary as you thought it was going to be?
No, it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. I've loved it. I've just loved being able
I'm
to
glad.
talk to you both about something that we all love. It's really nice, isn't it?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's why I love doing these podcasts, because we
Yeah.
all get to kibitz about something we love.
Yeah, it feels very indulgent. I feel like I need to go eat chocolate and
You can do
live
that.
like a Roman emperor.
You can do that. I will not judge. But yes, I've got nothing else to say apart from if you've got any Obsidian Day awards, please look at the link below. Nominate people, nominate whoever you want, whoever you need to. But yeah, okay, from me, I've got nothing else to add. So stay lovely, stay logical. Until next time, take care.
Yes. Live long and prosper. Like, comment, and subscribe as usual.
In the vastness of the stars we roam, obsidian fleet our eternal home. With stories untold, adventures so grand, together